nhà này. Chạy đi, tất cả đều chạy. Ha, đốt sạch.
What happens when humiliation turns into dangerous revenge? One quiet farming village was shaken when Huyen's former mother-in-law was caught stealing chickens from Huyen's farm by Mrs. Sam, Dee's mother. After Huyen reported the incident to the police, the woman left with burning resentment in her heart. Days later, on a dark and windy night, that hatred returned in the form of a terrifying act. She secretly set fire to Huyen's farm, hoping to destroy everything. But just as the flames began to spread, Dee discovered the fire and rushed to stop it. What followed was a desperate race against time to save their home, their animals, and their future. The day the truth was revealed, the small farming village felt unusually tense. Huyen's former mother-in-law had always been known as a stubborn and prideful woman, but no one expected her to be caught stealing chickens from Huyen's farm. That afternoon, Mrs. Sam, Dae's mother and now Huyen's current mother-in-law, was walking past the chicken coop when she noticed something strange. The gate to the coop was slightly open, and a shadow moved quickly behind the bamboo fence. Curious and suspicious, Mrs. Sam quietly stepped closer. What she saw shocked her. Huyen's former mother-in-law was crouched beside the coop, hurriedly stuffing 2 of Huyen's chickens into a large sack. The chickens flapped their wings wildly and clucked in panic as the woman tried to silence them. Mrs. Sam immediately called out in a firm voice, startling the woman so badly that the sack fell to the ground. Within seconds, the truth was exposed. Huyen was called outside, and when she arrived, the scene before her was heartbreaking. The woman who once belonged to her family was now standing there with stolen chickens at her feet. The neighbors, hearing the commotion, slowly gathered around, whispering in disbelief. Huyen felt both shocked and deeply hurt. She had never imagined things would fall to such a low point. After a moment of painful silence, she made the difficult decision to report the matter to the local police to prevent further trouble. When the officers arrived and wrote the report, the humiliation was unbearable for the former mother-in-law. Her face burned with anger and shame as villagers watched the scene unfold. To her, this was not just a mistake being exposed, it was a public disgrace. In her mind, Huyen had betrayed and humiliated her in front of the entire community. Although the police eventually allowed her to leave with a warning, the damage to her pride had already been done. As she walked away from the farm that evening, she did not look back, but her heart was filled with bitterness. From that day on, whenever she passed by the road near Huyen's farm, her eyes would drift toward the chicken coop with a cold and resentful stare. The once peaceful fields seemed to remind her of the humiliation she had suffered. Deep inside, anger slowly grew into a dark seed of hatred. She began to believe that Huyen had taken everything from her, her dignity, her reputation, and her place in the family. And as the days passed, that silent resentment quietly transformed into something far more dangerous, a burning desire for revenge that she kept hidden deep within her heart. In the days that followed, the bitterness inside Huyen's former mother-in-law did not fade. Instead, it grew stronger with every whisper she overheard in the village and every glance people gave her when she walked past. The humiliation of being caught stealing chickens had spread quickly, and in a small farming community, such stories traveled like wildfire. To everyone else, it was simply a shameful mistake, but to her, it felt like a wound that refused to heal. In her mind, Huyen was the one who had ruined her dignity. The anger that had quietly taken root in her heart now burned like a slow, dangerous fire. Night after night, she lay awake thinking about the moment Mrs. Sam had exposed her and how Huyen had called the police without hesitation. The more she thought about it, the more her thoughts twisted into resentment and revenge. One windy night, when dark clouds covered the moon and the countryside was wrapped in deep silence, she finally acted on the terrible idea that had been forming in her mind. The village had long fallen asleep, and the only sounds were the rustling of leaves and the distant barking of a dog. Slowly and carefully, she walked along the narrow dirt road that led to Huyen's farm. In her hand, she carried a burning torch, its flame flickering wildly in the night wind. The orange light cast strange shadows across her face, revealing the cold determination in her eyes. She stopped near the back of the farm, where piles of dry hay were stacked beside the animal sheds. For a moment, she hesitated, staring at the familiar land that once felt like part of her own life. But the anger in her heart quickly pushed away any lingering doubt. Clenching the torch tightly, she stepped closer to the haystack. The dry grass crackled softly in the wind, making it the perfect fuel for a fire. Without another thought, she threw the burning torch into the pile. At first, only a small flame appeared, quietly licking the edges of the hay, but within seconds, the fire began to grow. The dry straw caught the flame instantly, and the fire spread rapidly, glowing brighter and brighter in the darkness. Soon, the flames climbed higher, dancing wildly as the wind fed them with fresh air. The fire reached the wooden fence and the roof of the nearby animal shed, turning the peaceful farm into a terrifying scene. Inside the coop, the chickens began to panic. Their loud clucking filled the night as they flapped their wings and rushed around in fear. The goats bleated anxiously, sensing the danger that surrounded them. The growing fire cast a red glow across the fields, lighting up the night sky above Huyen's farm. Smoke rose thickly into the air, carrying the smell of burning straw across the quiet village. For a brief moment, the woman stood in the distance, watching the flames grow stronger, her expression hard and unreadable. Then, as quickly as she had come, she disappeared into the darkness, leaving behind the roaring fire that threatened to destroy everything Huyen and Day had worked so hard to build. But what she did not know was that someone on the farm was still awake, and the disaster she had planned so carefully was about to be stopped. Just as the flames began to grow larger and more dangerous, fate intervened in a way the woman had not expected. Dek had not yet gone to sleep that night. Like many farmers who cared deeply about their animals and land, he had the habit of checking the farm one last time before resting. The wind outside had grown stronger, rattling the wooden shutters and making him uneasy. Something about the night felt strange, as if the land itself was trying to warn him. As he stepped out into the yard, a faint glow caught his attention from the far side of the farm. At first, he thought it might be a lantern left burning near the haystack, but within seconds, the glow grew brighter and began to flicker violently. His heart skipped a beat. That was not a lantern, it was fire. "Fire!" Dek shouted instinctively, his voice breaking the silence of the night. Without wasting a single moment, he rushed toward the back of the farm. As he ran closer, the heat of the flames hit his face, and the terrifying sight came fully into view. The haystack beside the animal shed was already burning fiercely, and the fire was climbing toward the wooden roof of the coop. Chickens were screaming in panic, flapping wildly inside their cages. The goats were pushing against the fences, desperate to escape the growing danger. Dek grabbed the nearest water hose and turned it on with shaking hands. A strong stream of water shot out, cutting through the smoke and spraying directly onto the blazing hay. "Huyen, wake up! There's a fire!" he shouted again, as loudly as he could. His voice finally reached the house. Within seconds, the lights inside flicked on, and Huyen rushed outside, her face pale with shock when she saw the flames lighting up the entire yard. Without hesitation, Huyen ran toward the chicken coop. Ignoring the smoke that stung her eyes, she quickly opened the gates to let the terrified chickens scatter safely away from the burning shed. Meanwhile, Dek continued battling the fire with the hose, soaking the hay and the wooden fence to stop the flames from spreading further. The fire hissed loudly as the water struck it, sending clouds of steam into the cold night air. Mrs. Sam soon appeared behind them, already dialing neighbors for help. Within minutes, several villagers rushed over with buckets of water. Together, they formed a desperate line, passing water and throwing it onto the flames. The wind still tried to feed the fire, but the combined effort slowly weakened it. After what felt like an endless struggle, the roaring flames finally began to shrink. Bit by bit, the fire died down until only smoking piles of wet straw remained. Exhausted, Deck lowered the hose and took a deep breath. The danger had passed. The coop was scorched but still standing, and most of the animals had been saved. Huyen stood beside him, her hands trembling as she looked at the charred remains of the haystack. In the soft glow of the remaining embers, she noticed something unusual on the ground: footprints leading away from the farm. At that moment, Huyen understood in her heart that this had not been an accident. Someone had come here with the intention of destroying everything. Yet when she turned and saw Dex standing beside her, her clothes soaked with water and her face covered in soot, her fear slowly faded. No matter what danger came, they had faced it together. And as long as their family stood united, no hatred or revenge would ever be strong enough to destroy the life they had built with love and hard work.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Live Single RV. Vậy là câu chuyện của chúng ta ngày hôm nay đã kết thúc tại đây. Trong câu chuyện của chúng ta ngày hôm nay đã có một tình tiết vô cùng gay cấn và vô cùng hấp dẫn, đó chính là việc mẹ chồng cũ của Huyền sau khi bà ta ăn trộm gà và bị tố cáo với công an thì bà ta đã ôm uất hận trong lòng và đã quyết định đốt nông trại của Huyền. Và thật là may mắn cho Huyền và Đệ khi Đệ đã phát hiện kịp thời và dập tắt ngọn lửa để cứu nông trại. Liệu rằng bà ta có bị cảnh sát nhốt giam và xử tù hay không? Tất cả sẽ được hé lộ và các câu chuyện tiếp theo sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh Single RV. Các bạn đừng quên bấm vào nút subscribe sẽ nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các câu chuyện sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh nha. Huyền và Đệ cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều. Bye bye.